The Galactic Empire didn't believe in miracles. It believed in power, order, and data so precise it could calculate the probability of a sneeze in a vacuum. Which is why, on the flagship Vengeance Prime, when the High Council received word that Earth was sending them their most decorated combatant, they expected a monster. The data file attached to the transmission was brief. Too brief. That in itself triggered 3 internal investigations and a minor panic among intelligence drones. Designation, HE. Origin, Earth Sol System. Status, active combatant. Kill count, classified. Requested role, Special Operations Advisor. Gender, male, see attached holograph. The holograph was missing. Instead, a note, "Don't worry, you'll know him when you see him." Grand Admiral Vrazin, a 10-foot reptiloid with skin like obsidian and a tactical mind that once outmaneuvered a time loop wormhole, tapped a claw against the holodable. Is this another Terran prank? Like that time, they convinced the Zarnak to worship a rubber duck. Commander Crix, his younger and infinitely more nervous aide, checked the data again. No, sir. High elimination class operator. The name is Andy Vega. Call sign. He? That's not a call sign. That's a pronoun. It might be an acronym, sir. Possibly. Human extermination? Hyper-elite? Hot energy? Vrazin stared at him. I'll stop guessing. They assembled the War Council, complete with generals from across 37 star systems, most of whom had fought and survived the swarm wars, and all of whom had opinions on the human problem. The last time we let humans on board, they reprogrammed our warbits to perform YMCA, growled one crustacean admiral. That's nothing, hissed another. A Terran beat my entire arena squad using only a spoon and an Eye of the Tiger playlist. Andy Vega's arrival silenced even the loudest voices. The docking bay was quiet. No fanfare. No protective escort. Just the hiss of hydraulics and a human figure stepping down the ramp. She was not what they expected. Medium height. Slim build. No visible weapons. Unless you counted the duffel bag she slung over one shoulder like a gym rat showing up to a plasma war. Her dark hair was tied back, sunglasses on despite being indoors, and she blew a bubble with pink gum that popped like a gunshot in the stunned silence. She paused, looked around at the guards who'd raised their rifles. "What's up, boys?" she asked, voice light. "This the Empire? Or Comic-Con?" Vrazin's second-in-command dropped his weapon in sheer confusion. "She's human." "She's a woman," whispered another. "She's he." Andy glanced at the nearest officer. "Yeah, that's me. He. It was a joke. High school nickname. My kill logs got misfiled under it during the Martian insurgency, and the bureaucracy just went with it. Honestly, I stopped correcting people after the first dozen body bags." She reached into her bag, pulled out a can of soda, popped it open, and took a sip. Vrazin blinked. "You're the individual responsible for eliminating the Black Talon Armada?" Andy grinned. "Technically, they eliminated themselves. I just redirected their flagship into their own orbital minefield. Poor spatial awareness. And some duct tape." Someone gasped. Someone else vomited. "I've read the logs," Vrazin said, still trying to recalibrate reality. "You neutralized 6 pirate clans in one afternoon. They were all in the same bar. You light one fire, people start making bad decisions." Another pause. A whisper of dread moved through the hangar like a cold wind. "Come," the Admiral finally said, recovering. "The Council wishes to debrief you." "Lead the way, Lizard King," Andy said, tossing the soda can over her shoulder. It bounced once, then neatly landed in a waste recycler. "Let's talk shop." She walked like someone who wasn't impressed. Like someone who'd seen death, cracked a joke at it, and told it to get in line. The alien officers trailed behind her, as if she were radioactive, which, according to some old mission logs, she might have been once. The war chamber was dim, illuminated only by glowing holoprojections of major battlefields and the Empire's most lethal warriors etched into the walls. Legends cast in light. "Impressive," Andy muttered, glancing at the faces. "I think I punched that guy. And maybe that one. That dude exploded. Definitely exploded." "You claim to have encountered them?" Vrazin asked. "I don't claim. I report. A A third of the room silently updated their threat assessments. She approached the central table. All right, let's get to it. You call me out here to help clean up your mess. Who are we fighting? Vrazin cleared his throat. There's a rising insurgency on the Eastern Spiral, an alliance of rogue species using swarm tactics and planetary cloaks. We intended to send a recon team. Boring. I'll go solo. Crix sputtered. Solo? The planet is armed with surface-to-orbit ion cannons. I've got sunglasses and a death wish. Let's roll. You are not authorized. She opened her bag and pulled out a baseball bat. It gleamed faintly. Modified. I call her Susan. That's a primitive weapon, Crix said. Tell that to the 12 alien warlords who got their skulls cracked by it. Trust me. Susan's persuasive. A low whistle came from the back. One of the lizard-like strategists shook his head. You humans are mad. Andy smiled. We prefer the term creatively violent. There was a beat of silence. Then Vrazin activated the central display. A planetary map lit up with red markers. This moon base is heavily fortified. Our last team didn't return. They ever try duct tape? She asked. No. There's your first problem. She cracked her neck. Load me a shuttle. Give me 20 minutes. If I'm not back by then, send pizza. You don't have clearance. I have Susan. As she strode toward the exit, the council remained frozen, staring at the empty soda can still spinning in the waste unit. No one spoke until the door hissed shut behind her. Crix finally whispered, Do you think she knows what she's doing? Vrazin exhaled through his gills. I think we've just released a force we don't understand. On the observation deck, a junior ensign watching the security feeds muttered, She scares me. From behind, a veteran chuckled. Son, she should. Back in the hangar, Andy adjusted her sunglasses, boarded the shuttle, and slid into the pilot's seat like she was settling into a booth at a roadside diner. Computer, she said, powering it up. Ready, operator he. Play Danger Zone and prepare for orbital drop. Confirmed. Playing Kenny Loggins. As the beat kicked in and the engines roared to life, she leaned back and grinned. Let's go break something. The shuttle roared out of the bay. In its wake, the Galactic Empire began recalculating the odds of survival for every system she was now flying toward. They didn't like the numbers, and they had no idea those numbers were about to get much, much worse. The moon base was a fortress. Black metal towers pierced the clouds like jagged teeth, ringed by concentric trenches filled with plasma mines and mechs that didn't sleep. According to the Empire's battle analysts, it would take no less than 4 strike fleets, sustained orbital bombardment, and 3 weeks of attrition just to secure the landing zone. Andy Vega requested a thermos of coffee, a peanut butter sandwich, and a target list. The shuttle dropped her low into the atmosphere before peeling away like it was guilty by association. She hit the ground rolling, tucked behind a jagged boulder that steamed from the heat of reentry. Static buzzed in her comm. Command to he. This is Observer 1. Do you copy? Loud and clear, she replied, mouth full. Did you guys send crunchy peanut butter? That's either an oversight or a hate crime. You were supposed to observe, not engage. Crix's voice crackled through. That's an order. She took a final bite, wiped her fingers on her combat pants, and pulled Susan, her bat, from its sling. Yeah, well, I never listened in school, either. The first sentry tower went dark 6 minutes later. A patrol skiff flew overhead, scanned the site, and saw only a hole in the wall and a melted console. Its pilot reported a possible seismic anomaly. Inside, Andy moved like she was jogging through a mall. She hummed Danger Zone under her breath, avoiding cameras with casual, almost lazy precision. Every time someone spotted her, they didn't live long enough to alert command. By the time she reached the second defense ring, enemy forces had already sealed off the inner corridors, rerouted power, and triggered the automated turrets. She didn't seem to notice. She stood behind a barricade of spent supply crates and waited until a 4-legged mech stomped around the corner. The thing stood 20 feet tall and was armed with twin particle cannons. Nice, she muttered, cracking her knuckles. Finally something worth a warm-up. She stepped into its line of fire, flipped Susan end over end, and sprinted. Inside the command room, a A towering insectoid captain shrieked into his headset. She's charging a Forticore unit barehanded. That's not possible. She just jumped on its face. A moment later, every screen flickered. Static. Then the audio feed returned with Andy's voice, slightly winded. Hey guys, just FYI, your mech's got really bad cable management. I unplugged a few things. You should see the mess. The mech lurched into view on one of the cams. It was dragging half its frame behind it, smoldering. Susan was embedded in what remained of its main reactor. Back on Vengeance Prime, Vrazin stood with both claws locked behind his back, eyes fixed on the live telemetry. She's dismantling the outer defenses solo, Crick said, astonished. There are no casualties on our side. None. She hasn't even drawn a firearm. Correct, Vrazin muttered. She's improvising. The feed glitched again. When it returned, Andy was walking calmly through the central corridor, sipping from her thermos. One enemy comm operator whispered, "She walks like she owns the place." Someone replied, "She probably does." They tried everything. Auto turrets activated and jammed within seconds. Drones turned against each other after she dumped a decoy program into the atmosphere. Something she'd apparently scribbled onto a floppy disk with a smiley face and labeled "Do not run this." She found the armory. Didn't take anything. Just rewired the lock to detonate if open again. Left a note on the door that said, "Boom Boom Room. Enter at your own risk." The enemy general finally overrode protocols and authorized full planetary alert. Ships launched, sirens wailed, and over 800 troops stormed the tunnel. She leaned around a corner with a bottle of spray paint, tagged an arrow on the wall, pointing the wrong way, and vanished. Every time they tried to trap her, she was somewhere else, chewing gum, lounging on a crate, drawing smiley faces in the dust with a grenade pin. She became a rumor, a nightmare with aviators. Then she reached the reactor room. The Empire's scans went dark. No more visuals, no audio, just the dull thrum of the moon base's power core. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Crix leaned forward, whispering like a child at a horror movie. What if she fails? Vrazin said nothing. He was calculating evacuation routes. The reactor core lights flickered and then surged. Alarms went dead. Systems rebooted. Andy's voice crackled across the comm. "Hiya. Just a heads up. Your power grid had a redundancy loop that fed into a backup AI. Very risky. I deleted it. Also, the coffee machine in the West break room was broken, so I rerouted power to it." "You're welcome. Did you disable the reactor?" Vrazin asked. "Better. I convinced it to rethink its life choices." "What does that mean?" "It means the base is yours. Mostly intact. Might smell a little like ozone and popcorn for a few days." She walked out of the complex, dragging a dazed insectoid captain by the collar. Dropped him at the rendezvous site like a pizza delivery. The Empire's elite squad arrived 2 hours later to find the base completely secured, the command chain incapacitated, and the power grid running more efficiently than before. The official tally: 142 confirmed kills, 318 surrenders, 1 armory explosion, unconfirmed, 0 human casualties. Back aboard Vengeance Prime, a dozen senior tacticians watched the footage in silence. "She's unorthodox," one mumbled. "She's chaos incarnate," another whispered. "She's what we've been missing," Vrazin said quietly. When Andy finally walked back into the command center, sipping from a fresh thermos, the room fell still. "Well," she asked, "do I get a sticker or something?" "Your kill count has been updated," Vrazin said, gesturing to the war table. A glowing display appeared. Kill count: 74,038 confirmed. Several officers recoiled. One fainted. "Wait, how does that math even work?" Crix demanded. "You just got here." "Yeah, but someone finally logged my missions from 98 to 09. Mars, Europa, that thing with the angry sand planet. Also, I think someone counted dreams I ruined. Not sure. 74,000 kills." Vrazin repeated. "You've surpassed every warrior in recorded galactic history." Andy raised a brow. "Neat." Before anyone could respond, a new alert chimed. A red glyph pulsed on the display. Incoming message. Classified. Origin: unknown system. Crix frowned. It's from the Obsidian Swarm. That can't be right. They were destroyed 2 decades ago. The transmission played, a garbled hiss, then a single sentence. Return the Earth Woman. She annihilated our queen hive with a toaster. Silence. Andy blinked. Oh, that's who that was. Huh. Vrazin slowly turned toward her. You've made an enemy of species we thought extinct. Look, it was the queen or breakfast. I made a choice. Crix paled. They're coming back. Andy leaned on the console, casually flipping her sunglasses back on. Well then. A beat. She grinned. Guess it's time for round 2. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was not a place for raised voices. It was where centuries of diplomatic tradition, cautious language, and pompous protocol danced a slow, boring waltz of interstellar politics. That tradition lasted approximately 6 seconds after Andy Vega's face appeared on the central holoscreen. A dozen representatives, from amphibians in silk robes to crystalline hive minds encased in hover tanks, stared in stunned, collective silence as the footage of her moon base assault played again in the center of the room. A mech's head torn off by a baseball bat. A command center seized using spray paint and duct tape. An entire legion routed by a mixtape labeled Boom Boom Volume 1. Counselor BRZ Tack of the Terrii Confederation turned to face the chair. Is this a simulation? No, rasped the chairwoman, a 6-eyed amphibian whose tongue occasionally flicked to adjust her monocle. This is real-time war footage, recorded with her helmet cam. BRZ Tack recoiled. Then we have a problem. The Empire's envoy, Grand Admiral Vrazin, stood calmly with his arms behind his back, towering over the podium, as unshaken as a granite mountain in a windstorm. We invited Earth's most effective warrior. She fulfilled the mission. She destabilized an entire sector, growled Counselor Triln, a sentient cloud of spores currently simmering in rage. She triggered a resurrection broadcast from the Obsidian Swarm. That's classified, snapped Crix from behind Vrazin's left flank. BRZ Tack snarled. She melted a fleet's core reactor by rerouting power through a vending machine. Snacks were delivered. Came a voice through the council's speakers, cool and casual. No one said how. The chamber froze again. Andy's holographic image flickered to life on the council floor. She was reclined in a chair somewhere on Vengeance Prime, sipping something that sloshed over ice. She looked completely relaxed. Just figured I'd say hi, she added, spinning slowly in the chair. Heard someone mention my mixtape. A few council members visibly flinched. One even slid his chair away from the table. The chairwoman cleared her throat. You're not authorized to speak during this session, Earth representative. I'm not a representative, Andy replied, tilting her head. I'm the problem. The silence that followed was nuclear. Counselor Triln sputtered. This is a farce. A Terran, a woman, is now the single most lethal asset in the known galaxy. She has no command protocol, no discipline, no allegiance. I'm sorry, Andy interrupted. Did you say no allegiance? I bleed red, white, and caffeine. Thank you very much. Crix buried his face in both hands. She has made a mockery of this council. BRZ Tack barked. Her tactics are not strategy. They are chaos. Duct tape, cassette tapes, hostile banter. She once called a Zarnak warlord a sentient trash can. He started it. Andy muttered. Vrazin stepped forward. With respect, the Empire's operations have become more efficient since Operator he was deployed. 0 casualties. Maximum objectives achieved. Morale is up among our ground troops. He's not wrong, Andy added. I've had 4 squad commanders request motivational playlists. I got one guy in a Bon Jovi. The council chairwoman pressed a button on her dais. A new display rose in the center of the room, a glowing sphere filled with statistics. Let's review. Operator HE's kill count now exceeds 74,000. Galactic law mandates psychological review for any being exceeding 20,000 confirmed kills. Her profile was marked MIA for 7 years. Her tactics ignore 3 universal conventions of war. And she once used a toaster as a weapon of mass destruction. Andy took a slow sip. It was a space toaster. Bigger voltage. Several counselors began arguing in their native tongues. One hissed. One squealed. One simply clicked ominously and turned purple. Crick stepped forward hesitantly. If I may clarify, the term he was a miscommunication. It began as a military file abbreviation, high elimination. The gender confusion was Earth's bureaucracy. You let a bureaucratic typo define a war-class operative? BRZ tack screeched. Buddy, I once got promoted because someone thought I was a department, Andy said, completely unbothered. The chairwoman leaned in, expression unreadable. What do you want, human? Why did you accept this assignment? Andy's smirk faded just a little. I didn't come for glory or empire. I came because I was told the galaxy was on the brink of war and that the wrong spark could burn it down. Thought maybe I'd be the right spark for the right fire. Several counselors exchanged glances. She's a wildfire, murmured one. A weapon, said another. A revolution, said a third. She's a problem, BRZ Tack insisted. But the chairwoman simply stared. Then, with surprising gentleness, asked, And what do you fear, Earthborn? Andy sat up straighter. I fear bureaucracy with nukes. I fear cowards in command. But mostly, I fear the obsidian swarm figuring out how to make another queen. Vrazin took that moment to step forward again. The obsidian swarm have sent demands. Surrender the human, or suffer. Why not give them what they want? BRZ Tack asked. Andy stood. Because if you hand me over, they'll come anyway. That's what fear does. It doesn't stop with one sacrifice. It just gets hungry. Her hologram flickered, then stabilized. But if you want me to go, say the word. I'll walk. No one spoke. Finally, the oldest being in the room, a silvery orb known only as the Archivist, pulsed with light. Let be entered into record. No warrior, no weapon has ever broken so many records, so many protocols, or so many expectations. She is chaos, BRZ Tack growled. She is hope, the Archivist countered. The chairwoman tapped her gavel. The council will vote. Keep her or send her. The vote was swift. 12 in favor. 2 abstained. Only BRZ Tack voted no. The chairwoman nodded once. Andy Vega, she said, you will remain under Empire command. Your next mission will be the defense of the council itself. The obsidian swarm has already mobilized. Andy cracked her knuckles. Well, time to make another mixtape. As her image faded from the chamber, BRZ Tack stood alone, fists trembling. You've doomed us all, he muttered. Vrazin turned to him, calm and certain. No, he said. She's our last chance. And far away, on a darkened asteroid spinning in the quiet between stars, a new queen stirred. Andy's toaster had missed one, and this one remembered. The obsidian swarm didn't announce war. It simply appeared, emerging from the black folds of space like a disease remembered too late. 1,000 ships cut across the stars in a perfect wave, sleek as blades, humming with hive energy that bent local gravity and silenced comms in 6 sectors. The Galactic Council, paralyzed by the speed of the attack, activated its final contingency protocol. They called her. Andy Vega didn't even blink when the alarm screamed across Vengeance Prime. She'd been waiting, sitting cross-legged in her quarters, soldering a plasma core to an old cassette deck while humming Material Girl. Cricks burst in. They've arrived. 70 ships already in atmosphere. They're targeting the Council stronghold. Andy looked up without expression. Did they bring toast? He blinked. What? Nothing. Just wondering if they're still mad about the toaster. She stood, pulled on her jacket, and shouldered Susan. The bat had been modified again, now with a coiled energy sheath that crackled like thunder when she flexed her fingers. The plasma core she'd been tweaking was now duct-taped to a repurposed speaker with Plan B scrawled on it. In the war room, Vrazin pointed to the 3-dimensional battle map. They've locked down orbital movement. Planetary shields are buckling. We estimate 30 minutes before they break into the Council Tower. I only need 10, she said, strapping on a shoulder harness filled with old Earth tech. Walkman, laser pointer, mini fan, and what looked suspiciously like silly string. Vrazin hesitated. This time it's different. They've evolved. Learned from last time. She gave him a grim smile. So have I. The dropship trembled as it powered up, its hull screeching under hasty pre-launch sequences. Crick stood beside her at the ramp, helmet under his arm, nervous. "You really think you can stop a full invasion?" "No," she said, "but I can make them remember why they ran last time." The moment her boots hit the city's surface, everything changed. Smoke curled through broken towers. Plasma fire stitched the sky. Alien shadows slithered along the walls, too fast for the eye. And somewhere deep beneath the chaos, she could feel it, that thrum of the swarm's shared mind, pulsing with hate. She didn't walk. She strode. 3 swarmlings ambushed her near the western courtyard. Chitinous, taller than she remembered. She sidestepped the first, ducked the second, and drove Susan up into the third's throat, cracking the exoskeleton with a satisfying crunch. She didn't stop. The speakers on her chest clicked alive. "Let's get dangerous," said a familiar voice. Her own remix of Darkwing Duck, laced over a pounding bass line. The Empire's troops rallied to her position like iron filings to a magnet. They didn't question why the human woman was leading the charge. They only followed. She cut through the streets like a storm, rerouting power to barricades, luring enemy units into ambushes, leaving crude, smiley faces drawn in ash on the hulls of burning tanks. In the center of the city, the Queen emerged. She was different now, taller, armored in obsidian plates, lined with serrated grooves. Her wings buzzed with psychic resonance that scrambled radar and made strong minds weep. "You!" The Queen snarled across the battlefield, voice reverberating in the bones of every sentient within miles. "Me," Andy said, wiping blood from her cheek. "Back for round 2? You burned my hive. You humiliated me with primitive technology." Andy's grin returned, but her eyes stayed cold. "Yeah, you're welcome." The Queen raised one claw, and a shockwave flattened 2 entire block sectors. Troops scattered. The council tower cracked, its spire tilting dangerously. Andy didn't move. Instead, she pulled the cassette deck from her back and set it down. The Queen paused. "What is that?" Andy hit play. "Oops. I did it again," blasted across the battlefield, amplified by improvised speaker drones that now rose from the rubble like angelic backup dancers. Confusion spread like wildfire. The Queen actually hesitated. Andy used that second to charge. She moved like liquid lightning, dodging claws, sliding under strikes, Susan lighting up with every impact. The Queen retaliated, fast and brutal. A slash caught Andy across the ribs, sent her skidding into the wall of a collapsed transport. Her breath came ragged. Blood soaked her jacket, but her hands didn't shake. "Still just flesh," the Queen hissed, looming over her. Andy chuckled. "Flesh and mixtapes, baby." With one last breath, she activated the core. The modified speaker surged, drawing every nearby power line, every broadcast channel, into one focused burst. The drop hit. A seismic blast of pure sound detonated in a perfect sphere. Windows exploded. Swarm units convulsed. The Queen screamed as her psychic field shattered like crystal under a hammer. Andy rose, bruised, bleeding but grinning. The Queen staggered. "You cannot kill me with noise." "No," Andy whispered, "but I can break your rhythm." She vaulted forward, caught the Queen's midsection, and drove Susan deep between armored plates. A shriek split the sky. Then silence. The swarm froze. Their network severed. Without her mind binding them, they began collapsing, literally, some liquefying mid-motion. The invasion force fractured into chaos. High above, Vengeance Prime detected the shift. Enemy coordination failing. Crix said breathlessly. "The Queen, she's down." "I think she actually did it." Vrazin didn't smile, but something in his posture eased. "Then the galaxy may survive another day." Down in the rubble, and he dropped to one knee. Troops rushed toward her. Drones scanned. Medics shouted, but she waved them off. "Someone get me a sandwich," she muttered, blinking sweat and blood from her eyes. "And tell the council, Brittany still saves lives." The skies cleared. The swarm died. The war, at least this one, was over. Later, when the council convened to offer her a permanent position as Supreme Commander of Special Operations, she laughed and declined. "Been there. Blew that up," she said. "Just keep my music in the archives. and make sure no one messes with my toaster." She turned and walked away, sunglasses reflecting the twin suns rising over the reborn city. No titles, no medals, just the woman with the call sign he, and the bat named Susan, headed for whatever came next.